He spent years caring for the little creek behind his home until the Homeowners Association decided it didn't fit their vision of perfection. What happened next destroyed everything they'd built and proved that nature doesn't forgive arrogance. Water was everywhere, crawling through living rooms, swallowing gardens, and turning driveways into shallow ponds. People were shouting, wading knee-deep in brown, murky water, carrying boxes, pets, whatever they could save. The air smelled like wet earth and oil. Somewhere in the middle of it all, David Rucker stood barefoot in what used to be his backyard, staring at the concrete wall that had caused it all. The same wall the Homeowners Association swore would beautify the neighborhood. Now it was a dam, a man-made mistake that had turned 27 homes into swamps. Reporters showed up before the county trucks did. Their cameras panned over the flooded lawns, the ruined furniture, and the people crying on porches. A drenched man yelled at a camera crew, "We told them. We told them this would happen." At that moment, the story stopped being about property damage. It became something else, about arrogance, negligence, and how a handful of people's vanity had drowned an entire neighborhood. David didn't say much that day. He just stood there in his soaked jeans, his hands clenched and shaking, watching the current drag his lawn chairs away. He had warned them. He had sent the emails. He had printed the maps. And still, they had laughed it off, the same people who once told him the creek was nothing but a ditch. But before the storm, before the cameras, before the shouting and lawsuits, there was peace. The kind of peace you don't notice until it's gone. The creek had been small, but it was alive. You could hear it trickling on quiet mornings, smell the grass after rain, see the reflection of kids tossing pebbles into the water while their parents chatted across the fence. David, a black man, kept it clear year-round. He wasn't paid, he just cared. He said it kept the place breathing. A few of his neighbors used to thank him. Norman Blanchard, a white woman who lived 3 doors down, often brought him iced tea in the summer while he trimmed weeds by the bank. Eddie Granger, the retired mechanic, helped him build a footbridge for the children. The creek connected them all in small, simple ways. Nobody thought it was a problem, not until Marcus Leary moved in. Marcus had a way of making everything feel like a business meeting, polished, confident, and obsessed with perfection. Within months of becoming Homeowners Association president, he started sending out letters about curb appeal, improvements, fences too tall, lawns too brown, paint too faded. When he saw the creek running behind David's yard, he called it an eyesore. David had laughed when he first heard it. An eyesore? It's a creek, not a dump, he told Norman. But Marcus wasn't joking. He sent out a survey, held a vote, and convinced half the board that the creek was attracting mosquitoes and rodents. David tried to explain that it was a natural drainage line, that the water had somewhere to go when it rained. But Marcus's mind was made up. He wanted it gone. In the morning they brought in the contractor, David woke up to the rumble of machinery outside his window. Trucks, workers in neon vests, piles of rebar. He rushed out, waving his arms. "You can't just fill that in," he shouted. "That's a waterway." The foreman, a short man with a clipboard, barely looked up. "We got approval from the board, sir. You'll have to take it up with them." He did. He called, emailed, even printed county maps showing flood zones. Marcus's response was short and smug. "We appreciate your concern, Mr. Rucker. The Homeowners Association has determined the area is non-essential drainage. The improvement will enhance community value." Now, standing in the middle of the flood, those words burned in his mind. Non-essential drainage. He watched his neighbors bail water from their garages with buckets, watched kids cry as toys floated away. He saw the reflection of streetlights ripple over what used to be a playground. And the thing that hurt the most? He had seen it coming, every drop of it. The rescue crews waded through the neighborhood late into the night. The current was strong in some areas, forcing residents to move upstairs. News vans lined the street by dawn. Someone handed David a blanket and asked if he wanted to speak on camera. He just stared past them, toward the buried creek. The ground beneath the concrete was buckling, trying to breathe. David finally whispered, almost to himself. They thought they could bury nature. Then he turned and walked back to his porch, his shoes making that heavy suction sound against the mud. But this wasn't the beginning of his story, it was the consequence. David Rucker lived the kind of life most people dream about when they talk about peace and quiet. His home sat on the edge of a cul-de-sac in Willow Creek, North Carolina. To David, that creek wasn't just a patch of moving water. It was a living thing, a reminder that something wild still existed. He kept it clear year-round, not paid to, but because he cared. He said it kept the place breathing. Neighbors often teased him for his dedication, but he just believed people should care for what's theirs and for what connects them. The creek did that. It tied the neighborhood together. Until Marcus came along. When Marcus Leary, a white man, moved in, he made an entrance, an expensive car, two-story remodel, and a smile that looked permanent but never reached his eyes. He won the Homeowners Association presidency by a landslide. That's when the letters started. Marcus had rules for everything. When he saw the creek, he called it an eyesore. David tried to explain it was a natural drainage line, but Marcus's mind was made up. He wanted it gone. The first meeting about the creek project took place in Marcus Leary's living room. David sat across from him, his folder full of photos and printouts. Marcus confidently presented his plan. "We believe it's contributing to our mosquito issue and bringing down property values." David leaned forward. "Hold on, Marcus. It's county land and part of the natural drainage. You block it, you're asking for floods." Marcus dismissed his concerns, calling the creek an eyesore and accusing David of interfering. He presented a plan for controlled landscaping with concrete channels. Eddie Granger asked, "So you're going to pave over the creek?" Marcus called it controlled landscaping. David retorted, "You're talking about pouring cement into a living stream. You can't just kill a waterway because it doesn't match your flower beds." The room shifted uncomfortably. When the vote came, 7 hands went up in favor, only 2 against. Marcus gave a satisfied nod. "Motion passes. We'll begin the project within the next month." David stood up slowly. "You're making a mistake, and when it rains, you'll all remember this moment." Marcus's reply was soft but cutting. "Let's hope you're wrong, David." David couldn't sleep that night. He started documenting everything: photos, dates, rainfall records. He reached out to the county environmental office, who confirmed the creek was an active drainage route requiring a permit to alter. He forwarded their email to the Homeowners Association board, but received no response. Marcus's Community Beautification Project Coming Soon sign went up. David felt a shift, a sense of people choosing convenience over confrontation. He warned Norman, "They're going to do something stupid, and when it backfires, everyone will act surprised." The trucks came early one Saturday morning. David, sipping coffee, saw the convoy. "You've got to be kidding me," he whispered. He walked toward the noise, phone recording. Marcus appeared, cheerful. "Big day for Oaks Meadows. This is the start of our beautification project." David confronted him. "Marcus, you don't have a permit. You can't alter a drainage path without clearance." Marcus smiled dismissively. "We're not altering it, we're improving it. The contractor assured me the concrete will help manage runoff." "Manage?" David snapped. "You're blocking it. Water doesn't just vanish when you pour cement on it, Marcus. It'll back up into people's yards." Marcus dismissed him. "Mr. Rucker, please step aside." David turned his phone to face him. "This is unauthorized construction on a public drainage route. I've warned you. You go through with this, I'll report it." Marcus waved the foreman on. By noon, the first layers of concrete were poured. David filmed, documenting every stage. Norman joined him. "They really did it." "Yeah," he said softly. "They just buried a living thing." By the time the last truck pulled away, the creek was gone, replaced by a narrow, gray channel. That evening, David, Norman, and Eddie sat in silence. "Looks clean," Eddie said. "But man, that doesn't look right." "It's not," David replied. "You block water, it finds another path. Always does." He sent his footage to the county. Weeks passed. Marcus celebrated his Oaksia Creek renewal. David noticed puddles lasting longer, a faint mildew smell. Nature was reacting, but no one wanted to admit it. "Let it go, Dev," Norman advised. "They won't listen until they see it with their own eyes." One night in mid-August, thunder rolled over Willow Creek. The rain began, heavier than expected. David watched from his window as his backyard flooded. "This is exactly what I said would happen," he muttered, filming. Norman yelled, "The Granger's garage is flooding." David sloshed through knee-deep water. The new concrete channel was underwater. Eddie shouted, "It's coming through the vents." "My tools. They're floating." Then, lightning flashed, and David saw it. The concrete channel was cracking. Water pushed against it like a trapped animal. Marcus screamed, "Why is it rising so fast?" David marched toward him. "Because you buried the outlet. The storm drains are backing up." Marcus, panicked, backed away. David helped an elderly couple whose basement was flooding. By afternoon, Oaks Meadows was underwater. Power lines went dark. David stood in his doorway, watching his backyard. The bridge he'd built had floated away. Norman waded over. "It's bad over by the park. The playground's gone." Then, a deep cracking, a rumble. The concrete channel split apart. Water gushed through. Eddie shouted, "My house is done." David turned his camera toward the broken concrete. This is what happens when people think they can control nature. You can't bury a creek. You can only bury your common sense. Emergency crews arrived. Marcus stood alone on his porch, soaked and trembling. David whispered, "Told you it would find its way back." When the rain stopped, silence hung heavy. The water lingered. David stood in his backyard, seeing the broken concrete. Marcus, clipboard in hand, directed residents. "Everyone needs to document damages for the insurance claim." David confronted him. "You mean the same board that caused the flood?" Marcus, defensive, said, "This isn't the time for accusations. We're all victims here." "Victims?" David's voice rose. "You poured concrete into a live creek. You ignored the warnings." Eddie stepped forward. "He's right, Marcus. We voted on your word." Marcus blamed the contractor. David pulled out his damp folder. "I have every email. You didn't get a county permit. You just decided to bury a drainage line because it didn't fit your idea of aesthetics." Marcus's lips trembled. "We were trying to make things better." "Better?" David gestured around. "Does this look better to you?" Norman added. "Marcus, you wanted order. Now look at us. We're knee-deep in the mess you ordered." Marcus's composure cracked. "This isn't all on me. On your recommendation," Eddie muttered. David said, "I've already contacted the county again. They're sending an environmental inspector." Marcus froze. "You reported us?" He nodded. "I did. Someone has to." Later, neighbors gathered at David's. "You tried to warn us," one admitted. David poured coffee. "I didn't want to be right. Water doesn't play politics." That night, County Inspector Ellen Pritchard arrived. "You can't block a natural channel without hydrological studies or permits. Whoever authorized this is in serious violation of state law." Marcus approached. "We didn't know." Ellen cut him off. "You should have. This isn't cosmetic damage. You've redirected a watershed." Marcus's face went pale. The project was under investigation. Local news vans returned. David became the unofficial spokesperson. "We just want accountability," he told reporters. "This wasn't a freak accident. It was a choice, and we all paid for it." Cameron Drury, an environmental attorney, called David. "Sometimes the only way to fix a problem like this is to hold people accountable first." They met. Cameron confirmed the Homeowners Association's actions were illegal. They didn't just break it, they bulldozed through it. Cameron arranged a community meeting. Nearly every homeowner showed up. Marcus arrived last. Cameron explained, "What happened here is not just a mistake. It's a violation of state and county law." Marcus interrupted. "The Homeowners Association acted with the best information available." Cameron countered, "Do you have the contractor's environmental compliance certificate? Then your assurance means nothing. Ignorance doesn't exempt you from liability." The room fell silent. Residents approached Cameron, furious. "Our insurance won't cover flood damage." They called it man-made negligence. Cameron advised, "You're going to need collective representation, a civil action against the Homeowners Association Board." Cameron filed a preliminary notice and a formal complaint. Local media picked it up. David's interview clip went viral. "You can't bury a creek and expect it to forget where it used to run." Oaks Meadows became national news. Marcus's house became a symbol of the problem. Cameron managed the publicity, emphasizing responsibility. The county investigation accelerated. The environmental report confirmed everything David had warned. The state ordered the Homeowners Association to remove all concrete and restore the creek, costing hundreds of thousands. Board members were personally responsible. David exhaled. "I guess they're finally listening." Cameron smiled. "Listening is the easy part. Fixing it, that's where the real work begins." The cleanup drew more media attention. Crews dug out concrete. Water flowed again. Children cheered. At the next Homeowners Association meeting, residents demanded answers. Marcus, pale and trembling, tried to maintain authority. "This was never meant to harm anyone." A man interrupted. "You cost us tens of thousands of dollars." Norman stood up. "Marcus, you treated nature like a nuisance. You buried it under concrete, and now you're buried in the mess you made." Marcus cried. The board voted unanimously to remove him. Outside, David was asked if he felt vindicated. "No. None of this should have happened if one person had just stopped to listen." His statement went viral again. The rain returned a week later, soft, steady, harmless. David stood on his porch, watching the creek whisper downstream. He knew the real lesson wasn't about floods or lawsuits. It was about pride and control. The reckoning was still to come. Oaks Meadows was scarred, but there was a fragile honesty in the air. People talked openly, helped each other. David became the quiet anchor of recovery. One afternoon, Marcus appeared. "Need an extra pair of hands?" he asked, humbled. David hesitated. "You sure you want to get dirty?" Marcus smiled weakly. "I think I've done enough damage sitting clean." They worked side by side. Marcus confessed, "I wanted it to look perfect. I thought if I could make the neighborhood look beautiful, I'd finally feel like I belonged somewhere. David said, "You don't fix belonging by controlling everything around you. You fix it by caring for what's already alive." Marcus nodded. "I learned that the hard way." The restoration lasted months. David oversaw it with Cameron. The Homeowners Association, under new leadership, dissolved Marcus's plan and established an environmental committee. At the first meeting, David spoke. "We built this place thinking we could control everything. But nature doesn't follow our blueprints. When we respect that, it takes care of us. When we fight it, it reminds us who's in charge." Cameron smiled. "What happened here? It actually changed people." David looked at the creek. Maybe that's what it was supposed to do. Weeks later, he stood by the rebuilt bridge. Kids tossed stones. Norman waved. "Funny thing about disasters," she said. "They tear things down, but they also show what's worth rebuilding." He nodded. "Sometimes you have to lose control to remember what matters." Marcus, planting shrubs, waved to David. This time he waved back. The story of Oaks Meadows faded from headlines, but the lesson stayed. David's quote hung on a plaque. "You can't bury a creek and expect it to forget where it used to run." He read it, smiled, and kept walking. His voice echoed. "People always talk about control, but control's an illusion. The real strength is in balance, knowing when to guide and when to step back. Remember that the next time you think you can outsmart nature or people. And if this story taught you something about pride, patience, or the price of ignoring what's natural, hit that subscribe button. Because sometimes the most powerful lessons don't come from books or speeches. They come from the water that refuses to stop flowing.